Hello, hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. So let's look at this. You are looking to apply for a contract, and this is part of the contract series that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing lots of training on here because I feel that this needs to be done so that you can learn a bit more as well. So you've applied for a contract, you've clicked that green button, and now it's time for you to show evidence that you can deliver that service. So what is it that you need to do in order to win that contract? So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you just one of the aspects that you need to think about when it comes to pricing your organization so that you are able to win a contract. So I hope that you're going to find this helpful. Grab a notepad and paper. Let's dive into it. So you got a contract and they're asking you what your prices are going to be. What are you going to charge? What do you charge? You don't know. Maybe it's your first time doing it. So the first thing that you need to look at is look at the documentation that they provide you with, and to really get a good understanding of the type of service that they're looking to for you to deliver, but also the level of service, whether it's mild, medium or high needs. For example, I'm referring to the care sector here, for example. Now, you've got different software, of course, but you've also got to look at what the finances are saying. Can you deliver this service without it impacting greatly on your finances to a detriment that's going to be not good for you, where you're not making any money? So I've heard where people have literally just charged an extra £1 per hour just to get a contract, but that's not the way to do it. Okay, we're not the Richard Bransons, we're not the big organizations where they can charge £1.50 per hour, for example, and then they're paying the staff members, the temporary workers, for example, the high rate, for example, because they can afford to carry that. Now you can't, so you've got to look for contracts which is for small to medium sized enterprises, for example, if you are a small to medium sized enterprise, for example, or maybe you're a micro organization as well. So you got to think about all of these things before you start to go into this. So first of all, you got to read the documentations that are sent to you, the terms of business. Make sure that you understand that. Look at the evaluation criteria. Do you meet that particular contract? Will you be able to deliver that service? I'm just having my tea as well. So, yeah, you feel you can deliver the service, and now, whether you're providing healthcare workers or nurses, for example, if you're doing a recruitment care agency or a home care agency. Today, I'm going to be talking about pricing for home care agency. There will be more videos to come about the different prices for different types of organizations. But first, I want to delve into this more so that you understand what it is that you are able to offer and what the price is going to be. What will you charge, for example? Now, the first thing you've got to look at is all your expenses. What are you paying out? So in order to be able to understand that, we need to do a breakdown. So like I said, grab a pen and paper of the different expenses that you are going to be having, and also you need to be able to make a profit from this. So I'm going to talk to you for some examples here. So what price are you going to pay your care staff or nurses, for example? So what price per hour are you going to pay them? So it all depends really where you're based around the UK, for example, or even in America, okay? Because, you know, I do America as well as the UK. For example, I've got clients in USA, I've got clients in the UK. I am a global organization and our company is based in Cyprus. I've been able to do that. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to live in Cyprus, but I can still run a business online, for example. So, what is your hourly rate going to be? Is it going to be, £11.50 per hour? Is it going to be £14 per hour that you're going to pay your staff members, for example, if you're in the UK? If you're in the US, is it going to be $15 per hour for providing a home care agency, for example, and you're looking at contracting with an organization, a buyer that's going to use your services? So what rates will you be paying them per hour? Then you've got to think about what other things that needs to be thought about. Travel. What is the travel expenses going to be? For example, in the UK, you could say it's £1.50 per hour that staff member is working, whether they're an employee or whether they are a temporary, self-employed worker, for example. So what travel expenses will this be? Because obviously they need to have travel expenses paid for, because they can't use it out of their hourly rate. So you best to break it down so that it's clear to everybody, for example. Okay? Then you've got to also think about national insurance, pension, if you're in the States, and what employee taxes that you've got to deal with, for example. I'm not on about the employee, what they've got to pay, but I'm on about what you've got to pay. Okay? So, for example, it could be 50 pence for employers' national insurance per hour, for example. It all depends, really. Then there's also the pension contribution that you'll be paying. So that could be 80 pence per hour, for example. Okay? Then you've also got to think about other wage-related things as well, costs. So holiday pay. So what is a holiday pay per hour for that staff member? So it could be, say, for example, £1.50 per hour or £1.20 per hour, for example. Then you've got to think about training. We've all got to make sure our staff members are trained. So what is that cost per hour for that particular staff member? So you could say that it is £1.50 per hour, for example, for training. That might seem a bit steep. You could even have it as low as 30p per hour. All depends on the type of training that you're doing as well. Then you've got to think about sickness, because sickness does happen. So the hourly rate then could be 30 cents, for example, that you're paying for the sick pay for when it happens. Then there's also it could be notice. So what is the cost provision for notice or supervision periods? Because that costs money, doesn't it? To supervise a staff member, that costs money. So 30 pence, you could say. Then there's also the mileage. Okay? So then it could be 80 pence per hour, for example. Then you've also got to think about what are the business costs as well. Management, supervisor, you've got to have a care manager, for example, that's costing you. There's also the supervisor, that's costing you to help manage that staff member. So that per hour could be £2 per hour. This is how you're working and breaking down your hourly rate. I hope that you're enjoying this. If you are, please do click, like and subscribe so that you can get further training and further teachings on the strategies that you can use to get yourself a contract. Then the next thing that you need to think about is your back office. What is that going to cost you to have administration staff members? So it could be that you're paying for them to do the work for that particular staff member, carer, £1 per hour, for example. Then there's the staff recruitment. You've constantly got to keep recruiting. Don't just stop. You've got to keep recruiting, because out of the staff members that you recruit, only half of them will be available to work, and then only quarter of them will go out to work for whatever reason. Okay, so staff recruitment, you've got to keep advertising. Then you've got to think about training cost. What is the training cost? And it could be 20p per hour. Then you've got to think about your regulatory fees, whether you're registered with the Care Quality Commission or other bodies, for example, in the USA. And that could be, say 10 pence per hour. Then you've got to think about what your rent is for the building, for example. So that could be, for that staff member, be there 80 pence per hour. The next thing you need to think about is your telephones. What is the cost of your telephones per hour to ring that staff member if you need to check to see where they are, if you need to check to make sure they're okay, or to give them an additional shift, or to give them, or for them to call you, for example, call you back. So that could be 40 pence per hour. Then another thing you need to think about is PPE, personal protective equipment, gloves, mask, other items as well. So that could be 50 pence per hour. Then there's finance, legal, for example, accountant, legal fees. Then that could be like 30 pence per hour for that one staff member. I'm referring to one staff member here. Then there's also, you've got to think about the insurance, your public liability, professional indemnity, and employer's liability. Employer's liability, public liability, and professional indemnity, 50 pence per hour as an example. Then you've got to think about other overheads. Could be 20 pence per hour, miscellaneous needs. Then you've got to think about what your profit is, and this is the key part here. What is your profit going to be per hour? So I would say £5 per hour is your profit. So that's your profit margin to ensure that you are sustainable. Remember I talked about in the previous video how my rates were higher, then suddenly they were dropped, cut by half, for example. So here the total hourly rate is £27.52. And that is how you break down your hourly rate and show evidence of why you are charging this hourly rate. The government or any other organization, they want to know why you charge what you charge. You shouldn't just pluck a figure out of the top of your head. You've got to write things down and break it down. And this is why I'm trying to help you here. You can also get your accountant to help you, but at the end of the day, it's your business. You need to know how you came across those figures. We've got to start looking and finding out for ourselves, not just leaving it in other people's hands and then we don't know what's happening. Okay? Because you're the one that's going to be sat in front of an organization doing a presentation, a pitch about your services and your charges. So it's good for you to understand how this has come about. They'll also want you to explain why you are charging what you're charging. There's also, you've got to give evidence of that as well. So I just wanted to share this video with you. Please, please, please do like and subscribe to this channel to get further training, further learning. I hope that you've enjoyed this short video of what to charge per hour for your home care agency, for example, and this could be used for the US as well as the UK. So stay blessed, everyone. I look forward to speaking with you all soon. Take care. Thank you. Goodbye.